Hello there, everyone. It's your boy Hunt back with another fantastic episode of Tabletop Recap. As usual, we are joined by Big Boy Chungus here today,
Hello.
and we are doing part two of our playthrough of Waterdeep Dragon Heist. There was a session 0 and session 1, but session 1 was so long that it's a two-parter or a two-sharter. Laugh.
No.
Okay. So, last we left off, we'd kind of just, healed up a bit and gotten prepped to jump into the sewers to go find the Xanathar group. Let's do quick reminders of who our characters are. For this session, we had Mara, the half-human lizard folk fighter, bubbly, a bit naive, very fun character for me to play.
We have T32RY, aka Terry, the Warforged Barbarian, and Vorn Tornak, the Drow Rogue Criminal. So, as we left off last time, our party stopped by an apothecary to receive some healing potions and extra weapons to tackle this task of rescuing the missing person known as Floon Blagmar. Floon was under a situation in which mistaken identity caused him to be taken captive, along with another noble by the name of Raynar Neverember. Raynar was the original intended target of both the Xanathar and Zentarum guilds.
Well, we haven't found that out yet.
Yeah, we did. We talked about the Xanathar's guild taking them from the Zentarum, remember? They were at the warehouse. The Zentarum were the original ones who kidnapped Floon and Raynar. And then the Xanathar Guild came in and killed the Zentarum members and took Floon instead, thinking he was Raynar.
But do our characters know that?
Yes. Because Raynar was rescued from the warehouse and told them that they kidnapped me and my friend, assuming that I was the target.
I don't remember learning that till the end of the dungeon. But then again, it was a while ago. Normally we record these right after the session, and this is 8 days after the session, right?
Okay. Well, I figured 2 and 2 could be put together. I mean, that was the outcome of the session, but we'll see how that gets to that point.
It doesn't matter.
But yeah, so they went to go rescue Floon. Stopped by an apothecary for some supplies, and now we are getting ready to jump into the sewers to try and locate where they have taken dear Mr. Blagmar.
Yeah, so we hitched up Horseburger, my mule, and we easily found a sewer grate and just jumped in. It was no big deal. And we also relatively easily found the big eyeball mark. It's kind of a dumb thing to have in the sewer. It's a little too obvious. I think you said they were big, right?
About fist-sized.
I think you need to maybe start being a little more specific about the gang symbols drawn places, because you always made them sound really big. Huge.
Sorry. Nothing usually bigger than the size of a fist. When I said obvious, I meant that it's yellow chalk against a black and brown sewer wall. It's kind of hard to miss, even if it's only fist-sized.
Even then, that's odd, because it was pretty obvious which way it was pointing, because the pupil points in the direction you have to go to find him. And we did find him pretty quickly. I think Mara was leading the charge on that, because no one else really knew what to do.
Yeah, the book is actually kind of vague on that. It just assumes that the players, when they receive information about going into the sewers, that they'll just see the symbols and then know to follow them. It doesn't really say any more than that. So I was trying to make sure I was giving you guys a little bit more information to kind of suggest what the course of action needed would be. And you guys did, but you are probably right. Between the Zentarum and Xanathar's guild symbols need to be more specific at how big and how obvious they are.
And eventually you ran into a little critter. A little critter of sorts.
Yes, so after following the symbols for almost an hour, you do come to a bit of an intersection. And at this intersection, near another Xanathar's Guild symbol, is this little grapefruit-sized creature with 4 eye stalks just kind of gibbering to itself. And it notices you. By the way, some of the players have had to light torches and other modes of light in order to be able to see, because only one person actually has dark vision.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's right.
And so this creature notices you guys right away, and initiative ensues.
It was a little gazer, right? Is that what they're called?
Yes, they are known as gazers.
The little poop babies.
I won't go into what exactly they are and how dangerous, because that may lead to some spoilers later in the story for our players mainly. But they are not very difficult creatures to deal with. The main thing you have to worry about are their eye stalk beams, which, even though it went last in initiative, you guys did get to see some of it in action.
I think we did a pretty good job.
You did.
We took it out pretty quick.
Yeah, it doesn't have a huge challenge rating. They're not meant to be very difficult, but if you do fail your saving throws when fighting them, they can be a mess to deal with. But luckily, you guys were rolling really high once you guys started going into the sewers.
Yeah, I felt we did quite well. And then, we tossed that little carcass into the sewage. I think was his name, Vorn.
Yes, Vorn gouged one of the eye stalk eyeballs out of the gazer and has it in his possession, which maybe he can learn to do something with it. Maybe he'll just trade it to somebody. Who knows? We'll let him figure that out.
And then Mara was like, "Is that a Beholderkin eye stalk, or are you just happy to see me?" And then nobody laughed. Nobody laughed. It was fine.
Well, maybe that was just because one of our players were in character and they just don't have good senses of humor except for you.
Yeah, I was out of all 4 in there, including that NPC. Mara was the only one that was happy.
Now, kind of moving along, you guys continue down the sewage waterway till you come to about a little roundabout, which, because of the torches and no one was trying to sneak, left you guys open to some sneak attacks from goblins.
Little gobos.
At the time, you didn't realize they were goblins, but all you knew was that some arrow slits were being presented in front of this roundabout, and as you passed them, not so subtly, you came under fire from little arrows. You very quickly decided to move out of the way and found a stepping station just to the side of the roundabout, in which you were able to move yourself out of the line of fire. You then proceeded into a room that had lots of clutter in it, lots of messy clothings and other pieces of junk, which it looked like people had hastily thrown around. After investigating this room and having a couple crit fails, led to some nasty articles of clothing being discovered and some constitution saving throws had to be made.
Yeah, crit fails were starting to pile up a little bit at this point.
Yeah, and because all
we
you
had
guys...
to throw, Matthew threw a bunch of D20s onto the ground.
Yeah.
He was not happy with his dice.
But you guys managed to find a goblin that you were able to interrogate and kind of get the lay of the land of this little dungeon area. And he told you that there were about 4 or 5 people in the dungeon, and that they were, in fact, members of the Xanathar Guild. And he pretty much spilled his guts once, I think, Vorn got his hands on him.
Yeah, Mara isn't really much of an interrogator. If she interrogates someone, she's going to be using, like, politeness to goad an answer out. She's not going to be, like, threatening or anything, really.
Tell me what you know and I won't kidney punch you.
It's like, hey, bucko.
But so yeah, the goblin told you that there were some people up ahead that you should be careful of before. I don't remember if you guys knocked him out or actually killed him. Goblins in this world are mostly monstrous creatures. You know, you may find one that's not so bad every once in a while, but most people see them as vermin or just creatures to be hesitant of.
I actually remember we used him to kind of help get into the next room, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Well, you didn't use him. I thought someone impersonated his voice.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, I thought we brought him in. Oh, yeah, you're right, though. It was voiced in... But once again, it's been 8 days.
So, the goblin was disposed of.
We knocked him out. We didn't kill him.
Okay.
I know for a fact we did not kill him. Because there would have been a discussion about it.
Well, I can tell you right now, the people of Waterdeep would not lose any sleep over a goblin or two being murdered in the sewers.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but Mara might.
But so we're moving on, and as you guys continue from the area where you found the goblin, you came across some sleeping quarters. A couple of straw beds and pillows thrown together to make a makeshift barracks. And from the other side of this makeshift barracks, you could hear voices. One kind of familiar, and the other one not so much, as they were struggling to work on something in the other room.
And we weren't stealthing either. I think we'd just been playing for so long. We were like, just walk in the room.
Well, something happened, and you guys alerted the two voices in the adjacent room.
It's because Vorn was sneezing.
Oh yes. He wanted to investigate the beds in the makeshift barracks, and he rolled another critical fail, which basically gave him hay fever for an hour.
Yeah,
and caused him to uncontrollably sneeze once every minute.
Yeah, because there was some map confusion. This is funny. We were all a little bit confused on the map, and there was some accidental skipping ahead. So he searched beds, rolled a nat 1, got hay fever, and was uncontrollably sneezing, which kind of just stopped stealth. And then we were like, oh, wait, we skipped a room. Like, if we just somehow didn't notice it on the map. So we went back to that room. We canceled his nat 1, got in. He did the same check, got a nat 1 again. And he was like, no. Then he sneezed.
And I said, dude, I gave you an out on the first one. That's on you.
I was like, bud, this is fate, man.
He's knocking at your door.
No. No.
I
Buy that merch. Buy that merch.
I cast Revivify on this dead meme.
Nice. That should be on the next shirt. I would buy that.
So, anyways, because of Vorn's sneezing from the second consecutive nat 1 on the pillow search, it alerts the two voices in the other room, and they're like, oi, who's there? And Vorn decides to try and... Was it Vorn or who tried?
It was Vorn. Yeah, he impersonated the
goblin. He impersonated the goblin that they had just knocked out previously, and he rolled really high on it, I think.
Oh, he did a great job. Yeah, because I gave him my lucky die, because he threw his on the floor.
He rolled really well, and he managed to convince the two that he was the goblin from the room back, and he had gotten into something that was making him sneeze.
And they were like, yeah, get back to your post, you little poop man.
Get back to your station, you little gobbo.
And then Mara joined in, and because, she's a lady, so she pulled off that feminine voice, doesn't have to do as much performance, just deception. And she's like, well, you paid me to entertain these fellas, so do I still get paid or what? And so they thought that he brought a prostitute in to their secret hideout, and they were like, are you a moron? You brought a prostitute into our secret hideout?
Yeah, they weren't infatuated by any means, but I played it to work that they were outraged that they brought in someone who was not part of the faction into the hideout. And so they just stumbled right into a setup.
Yeah, they walked through the door to come get mad at the goblin for bringing a fun lady of the night into their secret place where she could just tell everyone after she left. And right when they walked through the door, you got Vorn on one side, ready for that with the held action, and then you've got Mara right in the door, brass knuckles up, holding an action as well.
And it wasn't until initiative started that you realized who the more familiar voice was. It was, in fact...
Hi, guy.
Yeah, the thug from the very beginning in the Yawning Portal.
Not the Power Rangers villain, Eye Guy. The guy with the tattoos. And the funny part was you said he had a bruise from G's character's fist.
Yeah, so he's got the Xanathar Guild tattooed right on his bald forehead. And this is the same guy that Terry had punched square trying to break up the fight
In the last episode,
with Yargr Stonefist. And so I remember to include that because, this is only like 8 hours ago.
Yeah, she's got the bruise.
And it's very clearly squarely indented into his forehead.
That's
It was
funny.
hilarious. But you opened up with him with a crossbow, and he already didn't
No,
have
I think I used my fists.
Okay, well, someone shot him.
Yeah, it
with
was
a nat
born
20.
Born on the side, I think.
Okay, yeah. So, well, no, because I remember someone rolled a nat 20 with a ranged attack because the way it worked was that the shot went through him, and because of the nat 20, I made the arrow continue clean through and hit the second guy behind him.
Oh, that's right. I wasn't right in front of the door. I was back with my longbow. You're right. We're both right, but about different parts.
Yeah, so Vorn, because he had sneak attack, he got to add his sneak attack die damage, which already did a huge chunk of his health. And then you came in with a nat 20. You did max damage to him, and then carried the attack through to the guy behind him, who was a Duergar. Now,
yeah, those are cool.
the sneak attack wound up killing the thug previously. He slumped over the ground first.
He went out fast.
But the Duergar alone was a bit of a challenge. He really hurt you guys to a degree because Duergar have this unique ability where they can actually change the size of their physical shape from a medium to a large creature. So we're talking about someone who is no more than 4 or 5 feet tall, all of a sudden changing into someone that's 7 to 8 feet tall. And so he's like a half ogre.
Yeah, I remember he grew, and then Mira was like, "Yes, big dungeon monster." Because even though I wouldn't call Durgar monsters by any means, but still,
And what's
it's
really
their first dungeon.
well, the
She's
reason why
infallible.
Duergar in their giant form is that for a full minute, not only are they more physically imposing, but they have advantage on all strength-based checks, and if they do a hit, they deal double damage. If it weren't for the fact that Terry decided to rage and assess that the threat level had increased when the Duergar grew, he would have been knocked out in one hit. Because I think on one hit he did 20 damage. He rolled really high after making a successful hit on Terry. And it's only because Terry had resistance to bludgeoning damage that he only took 10 instead. And even then, his max health was 13.
Yeah, and that was a cool mini boss. Much stronger than the actual mini boss.
Yeah. Well, I think they did a very poor job of assigning stats to this guy because had he been given the stats that he was supposed to have based on his race, he would have been much more imposing. But instead, they gave him stats based on his class, which is significantly weaker.
Oh, okay. I get it now. Yeah, the Durgar. That's because if you listen to the last episode, there seems to be once again 8 days after the session. We usually record these right after because you thought that I had attacked the troll and gotten like the final hit in, and I was like, no, you're confusing that with something later. This is the something later.
Yeah.
I had the final shot on the big dungeon Duragar in the eye. Final shot. Those were our first actual kills. And Mara was pretty excited. I played that differently than I thought the first kill would go. But, gangsters in the sewer. One of them is a species of sentient that I don't believe she'd really be that familiar with, to be completely honest. And then he grew big, and she was like, yeah, heat of the moment. So that was kind of that was the first sentient life she'd ever taken.
She shouldn't feel real guilty about taking his life because, one, he was already hell-bent on taking their lives. Like, Xanathar Guild members, as you've seen what they do to Zents and civilians, they are very much chaotic evil.
I think the way I'm going to play her is if it's like these gang members that are like under the city, it's almost more of a, like you can get away with things more down there. But if like the goblin, if we were trying to kill that goblin after we already had him subdued and he was talking and stuff, she wouldn't have been for that. But in the heat of combat against this very powerful foe, you basically had to.
Yeah.
There was no knocking him out there, really.
Exactly. And we did find out we had a few revelations after the combat.
Yeah, because everyone was like, Terry, what was that? Like, a lot of people were like kind of scared, concerned for Terry because he like did his rage and then he dropped to the ground. But Mara was like, whoa, Terry, that was badass. And she like jumps on him and grabs him and is like shaking, like, whoa, that's so cool. And he's like, I am falling apart. Please cease this action.
Well, he started to fall apart, but then as I forget for whatever reason, but in the combat, the potion of healing that he was given wound up shattering on his person because he wasn't sure if it would heal him or not. And even though in whether it's Tasha's Cauldron or Eberron Rising,
they say that the healing potions work the same on them because it's magic.
Healing potions and magic, as well as mending actions, do repair and heal Warforged. I do have an explanation planned if players choose to investigate that, because technically Warforged don't exist in the Forgotten Realms. They're more of an Eberron race. But
you made the Warforged existence feel very natural in Waterdeep, I just have to say. Because like you said, there was that place where they make them, but they're like...
Well, that place actually does exist. That's in the book. The House of Inspired Hands.
Yeah.
And automatons are not uncommon in Waterdeep. In fact, there's actually a holiday in... I want to say it's either in summer or spring, where... No, it's actually in fall. You guys may actually get to participate in it, but it's like late fall. But basically, the House of Inspired Hands, along with any inventors in Waterdeep, send their inventions walking, spinning, or riding down main streets to present their new designs and ideas.
Oh, that's cool.
The main difference between those automatons and G's character is because G seems to have more sentience than your average automaton.
Yeah, it's just like they're given their orders, they follow it, they wait for the next one.
G does have his prerogatives and his objectives, find the creator and protect it, Gimgin Eversharp.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he has deviated away from some other prime directives. Like, he has made his own choices, he has made his own calls, and yet despite the fact that his creator is missing, he seems to be acting on his own. So a little bit of a mystery for himself personally, but it's nothing that's like story changing or groundbreaking. So there are, I would argue that he is probably the first Warforged in the world that we're playing as, but because he's the first and because he doesn't have all the proper, he himself does not have everything uploaded properly, he's very much like in a prototype stage.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's a good way to introduce it. Like, I mean, if the Eberron book exists, I'm not going to deny people to play Warforged and stuff. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, you can't play a turtle outside Tomb of Annihilation. Like, no one's going to do that.
Well, when I was watching some other YouTubers, they would use other races like Changelings. Changelings are another race that is exclusive to Eberron, but they would have Changelings all over the place in Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Now, I'm like, it's not that hard. If you want to be real simple, you could just say, a wormhole opened up and you arrived from this world to this world. But
Everyone's across the sea. Who cares?
I liked... G actually came to me with the idea of doing an automaton-based character.
He's very creative when it comes to these characters.
Mm-hmm.
He does a good job.
And I have heard that Wizards of the Coast is actually in the process of brewing up an automaton character race that is not Warforged, like an actual robot you can play as in the future. So,
if that's true, I feel like it's just because Warforged are popular, but not in the regular setting. Just give him lore for the regular setting.
Yeah,
I feel like you don't need to make like. I want them to kind of get out of the habit of making multiple types of a certain sentient. Because it's like, how many elf types are there? We don't need all these elf types.
Has anyone... Okay, so here's the thing. We're getting way off topic on this.
I know.
Has anyone ever actually played as a sea elf?
I don't even...
Sea elves, they're basically just elves that can breathe underwater. But out of every... There's already a race that does what sea elves do, but better. The Tritons. And just... You've got so many elf races now that... at least a third of them nobody is using.
Everyone always talks about how cool elves are in fantasy, and I've never been that person. They're not interesting. I'm sorry, elves aren't interesting.
Anytime I've ever seen someone play an elf in a story, it is either a drow or a half-elf.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention that... Oh, what? Now that you mention that, I don't think I've ever played alongside someone who was an elf sentient that wasn't a half-elf.
Technically, D. Legend played... His first character was a high-elf monk.
Oh,
but
yeah.
that doesn't really count because he got nooned in like session 2.
Yeah, that was his first session.
And technically,
no wonder I didn't remember.
And technically, he didn't make that character. He asked me to make one for him.
So he didn't even choose elf.
No, all he wanted is he's like, make me a character that is optimized for like hand-to-hand fighting based on like a Street Fighter or anime game. And I said, okay, I can optimize something like that. And high elves just have naturally high dexterity, which is what monks need in order for their unarmed attacks.
So it wasn't even like role-play wise or lore wise that there was any interest. It was just it worked out stat wise, and he didn't even choose it.
Yes.
Yeah, I won't count that either. If only to maintain my bias.
A lot of people choose the drow because of their, like their superior night vision.
And they're the unique one out of all of them, I feel like.
Yeah, there are wood elves, there are high elves, and I think some people might play as Eladrin, which are like the elemental elves. They have like Sun Eladrin.
Those are actually kind of neat, I'll admit.
But even then, I've never really seen anyone use them.
It seems like they might be kind of a hassle to play as. We should probably get back on it. People listening to this are like, okay, they're hovering over the skip button. Right
sorry. Yeah, last time we left off, we were talking about the health potion working on Terry, which was to the party kind of... I mean, it worked... Stat-wise, it's already said that it can happen, but the environment that it's in, some of the party members are like, what? You're a robot. How does a magical health potion heal you?
Mara was just like, it's magic! Because she can't use magic. She doesn't understand all the in and outs anyways. She was like, it's a magic potion. Wouldn't it work on everybody? Like, she doesn't even really see him as a robot, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think with her, it's just like, he can make decisions. He's just a person. Like, everyone's... And I guess that's also part of her, like, background, because she's really the first of her kind, as far as we know, so...
Yeah.
And so is he, so they empathize with each other a lot, maybe. They're both good characters. Ooh, I'm making these connections now about our characters. This is going to be fun. I cannot wait for session 2.
This is going to be so much fun. But, so then you move in from the room with all the hay and straw beds to the room that the 2 Guild or Xanathar members were in.
Yeah.
Working hard. And when you come into this room, you see what it was they were working on. They have moved all of the wood furniture because there's 2 other doors aside from the entrance you just came from. And one of them has just all this wood furniture piled in front of it like they're trying to barricade it. And through some perception checks, this is where Vorn actually showed through after several poor rolls previously.
And no one had a clue except for the sound, but Vorn figured it out relatively easily.
Yes, and he determined that the sound that was coming from this other room that the other 2 guild members were barricading, and he noticed that when they were barricading it, it wasn't just furniture. They also had like cloth and blankets stuffed along the edges, like they're trying to seal it. And between that and the sound, which was like a slurping, slithery sound, he just said, yeah, there's some kind of ooze on the other side of that door, and we don't want to mess with it.
Yeah.
He said there's a chance that it could be a lesser ooze that we could just tackle, but with our luck, it could be a gray ooze or a black pudding. Who knows?
And we still don't know. And I'm looking at your ooze minis right now, actually, and I'm like, it could be this little ochre jelly, or it could be that giant, like, deluxe black ooze you have.
The elder black pudding.
The big boy. I only have the little one.
The one that's big enough to hold a large miniature in its... what do you call those?
They should do all the ooze minis like that. That's such a good idea.
You know what I would love, and this is just completely off topic? I want them to make a pre-painted miniature of Jubilex, the demon lord of all oozes.
Oh, they'll get to it. I think they're making all the demon and devil lords. I think they'll get to it.
I'm very excited to see that. But, getting back on topic, so...
yeah, we're bad at that right now.
The party ignored the ooze. And
after they realized it was an ooze.
Yes. And proceeded up the hallway to the other exit from this room. And as they proceed down this hallway up a small set of stairs, they come to what looks like a makeshift throne room. And in this room, they see the following. A reddish blonde-haired man who seems to have been beaten within an inch of his life, laying in a fetal position on the ground. And standing over him is this very brutish-looking half-orc male with a balled-up fist ready to punch him again.
Wasn't it like a flaming fist or something?
Well, I'm getting there. He had one fist clenched ready to punch, and then in the other hand, he had fire emanating from the other one.
Oh, gotcha.
Kind of show that, maybe there's a little bit of a magical ability there. And he's shouting as, where is it? Where is this? And you guys kind of caught him in halfway through this torture / interrogation.
Yeah, I think it seemed to me like he wanted to know where the embezzled money was.
Probably. And then standing on the other end of this little throne room, there was a raised platform with a tall, slender figure decked out in black robes, large white eyes, rubbery purple skin, with 4 tentacles encircling an inhuman mouth. And any person who's played or even heard of anything relating to Dungeons & Dragons knows without even a perception check that this is a mind flayer. And as the players impose on this torture session, the half-orc figure becomes startled, demands to know who the players are. Meanwhile, the mind flayer, who is caressing what looks like a brain with 4 dog-like legs, sets the brain down, does not walk, hovers to a door on the other side of the room, and tells the creature...
I remember he was like, hey, orc.
He says, so the orc's name, he said, was Groomshar. And he said, Groomshar, you have failed me in this endeavor. Deal with these interlopers, and maybe you can redeem yourself. And he proceeds to exit through the door, which I was waiting to see if anyone was antsy enough to try and make a move on this creature.
No, we saw that dude floating. We were like, nah.
I think Terry actually made a perception check before anything happened, and I think he rolled like a nat 20.
Yeah, he was the one that identified it.
He said, Mind Flayer, Mind Flayer, threat level 30. Do not engage.
And we were all like, good enough for us. He's leaving the one we came here to get alone. So.
Well, because all the enemies Terry has assessed up until this point have been like 2, 3, 5. Yeah. Mind Flayer challenge 30. Yeah, that's something you don't want to mess with. But
thank God that Mind Flayer was cliche AF.
But Groomshar, before combat starts, he looks back. He says, "Lord Nihilor, don't leave. We're so close. I can do this." And he kind of just looks all pitiful, like Nihilor, as he was called. So he's just done with this. This guy's clearly failed in his objectives previously, and he's wearing thin on the patience of the guild. But so at that point, he turns to the players and initiates combat. Both himself and the little brain with legs start coming after the party. Now, what did Mira do once initiative was rolled? Do you remember?
Do you?
I remember the gist of it. I remember that the creature...
I remember it tried to get in her head and failed.
Well, Groomshar went down first. The brain actually put up more of a fight than he did.
Yeah, he went out really fast.
A lot of the enemies you guys fought had really poor initiative rolls, so you guys pretty much got all your hits in before they even had a chance to attack.
Yeah, that battle wasn't near as interesting as like the Duragar, which I remember the Duragar battle pretty well. This battle was just like that. We dropped that orc so fast, and then the brain doggo, it didn't get in any of our heads. We made all our saves on it.
Yes. So Groomshar was he did have magical powers. Unfortunately, he was more proficient with magic than he was martial skills, and because of that, he was not as hardy as some other orc or half-orc enemies you guys may have fought in the past. But
none. Oh wait, no, you mean in our general D&D playing, not as the characters.
Yeah, no, not as the characters, as you guys as players.
Sorry.
And he did use his ability that all half-orcs have, where if they drop to 0, they instead drop to 1 hit point, and they basically get like a second chance before death.
Yeah, cool ability.
And you guys did eventually kill the brain with legs.
He was a little harder to hit, I guess, just because he's scampering around on the ground.
Well, yeah, they're about the size of somewhere between a rat and a giant rat. Maybe about the size of a chihuahua. They're small creatures.
Yeah, they're wider than they are long, which is why it's hard to say how big they are, because their body shape is maybe like a big ocean crab, but way faster.
Yeah, they are. They're definitely meant to be more like ambush enemies. They're not really good face to face. But I will tell you this: had any of you failed your saving throws, you would have been in big trouble.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's with any creature that forces you to do saving throws instead of direct damage.
Better than a banshee.
Yeah, that would have been no good.
I remember those in Avernus. I was like, these banshee, man, jeez.
Yeah, that almost led to a TPK.
That was whack. We got out of it though.
Exactly. Now, so combat eventually ends, and while you guys were fighting Groomshar and the brain with legs, Raynar did secure Floon and drag him out of the firefight, and get him stabilized. You, Raynar, proceeded to make sure Floon was okay, while Terry and Vorn searched the room. And Terry actually did find a little bit of treasure.
Oh yeah, he found one of those like video game treasures behind the throne, like real classic positioning.
Yeah, and it had 2 potions of healing, which Vorn desperately needed.
Oh yeah, he did a really good job of just like holding on with 3 HP for like 2 or 3 fights.
Mm-hmm. He played very smart. And then he also found 16 gold pieces, 82 silver, and 250 copper pieces, which maybe he'll share those with the party. Maybe he won't. I don't know. The way I usually run loot in my system is, if you want to be a jerk and hold it all to yourself, fine. I'm not going to railroad you into forced sharing. We live in a capitalist society after all, not communist. But I did make it very clear that by holding on to items that you either don't need or can't use,
maybe you'll find less stuff in the future.
Yeah, and maybe your teammates will think you're a bit of a douche.
Yeah, probably, for sure. It's happened before. I feel like he intended to share it once we left, and then we were just tired and didn't think about it.
We can handle all that stuff in the next session, but we weren't quite done yet. Vorn also found a spell book on Groomshar's corpse.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the spell book.
I gave him the option to do an Arcana or a investigation check to see if the book was of any value, and he rolled like a 15, which was well enough to assess that this is on the level of a magic novice. This is not like a master wizard's tome. This is just someone's little journal that they've been starting to learn magic, and it's very basic, not a lot of high-level spells.
Too bad no one played as a wizard.
But this is something that would be worth something to somebody who was looking to expand their magical abilities.
Oh yeah, for
Nothing
sure.
like any archmage of Waterdeep would not be interested in this, but anyone looking to become a wizard's apprentice or expand their list of spells, or even just to a general library, would be interested in paying a fair fee for this.
Or maybe someone who owns a book or magic shop and could, sell it, turn around and sell it.
Yeah. And then there were several rooms. None of you, by the way, the exit that the Mind Flayer went through, none of you investigated that.
Why would we? A Mind Flayer went through it.
I was a little concerned that no one was even the least bit curious.
No, we were like, nah, in no way we're touching that. We didn't even have to say anything to each other. It's just no one went that way.
Heck no to the no. Heck to the no. But there were a couple other rooms, and I think Vorn was getting a little irritated because the other 3 rooms that were in this area all had makeshift beds.
Yeah, they were sleeping quarters, and I thought it, like, out of character, I was like, wait, there are multiple sleeping quarters attached to a throne room?
And I basically had to explain that this is not this area is technically part of the sewers. It is not a throne room. It is a makeshift throne room that has been built out of a sub-sewer section.
Yeah, but it just seems like I know they didn't do the architecture, but they still decide what rooms hold what. It was a little odd. But, yeah, because I remember everyone was like, nah, no more beds. I'm not even going to roll to search these beds. I'm never sleeping in a bed again. Which was really funny. And then he was like, oh, man, do we have to go all the way back the way we came? And Mara was like, haven't you ever heard an adventuring story? There's always a secret exit. And there was, and we found it.
I was actually a little concerned that you were metagaming, but no. Like,
no, she wasn't, because her dad, remember?
Yeah, no, you when you explained that, I thought, well, you know what? Now that you mention it, yeah, most dungeons do have a secret entrance either back to the front or out of the dungeon. And you were right, there was.
That's what her father told her. There's always a secret one.
I'll tell you right now, there were at least 3 exits out of this dungeon, and you guys just happened to find the super secret one.
Oh, that many? And we found the most secret one? Nice, that makes me feel pretty good.
It's now I will say this, it's not the hardest one that you could have taken advantage of, but it is the most secretive.
I get what you're saying. Like maybe another one has challenges that we didn't face.
Yes. But I will say this, while it was the most secret, it was the most safe. You did not have to backtrack through any sewage. It was a short... it
was just a ladder.
Short ladder. Yeah, ladder that went down, a small 20-foot long tunnel, and then another ladder that went up and out. And where you guys came out at...
that was pretty funny.
Seemed to be a cellar, a storeroom. You look around and there's all kinds of preserved food and wine casks and other dry goods and furniture that would be not uncommon in either a home or a tavern.
Yeah.
And you proceed through it, go up the stairs, and as you're going up this flight of stairs, a little halfling... Well, I say little, they're all little. This adult halfling male opens the door to go down, and he's like, "Ah! What are you doing in my cellar?"
Oh, we came through the secret door. We came through the spooky wall.
And, yeah, your character is
confused.
amazingly vague. He was so worried that people were tunneling into his cellar. And then,
I guess they were, in a way.
Well,
in a way.
Terry, I think, stepped up and said, "Your home is being used as a hidden exit for the Xanathars Guild. We have just transcended one of their dungeons." Or however he talked.
Yeah, I don't know.
But he basically put the little halfling family at ease. Excuse me. And basically said that, oh, so you were on official, like, city watch business taking care of criminals. And they said, yes. He said, oh, well, very well then. You're more than... And then, of course, he saw Raynar Neverember.
Once we came into the light from the open door.
He saw Raynar, and immediately any doubts of what we were lying or doing was put away.
Yeah, and then I remember... we also healed all the beaten up guy. And I remember Mara leaning over to the noble and being like, I always forget to pull the noble card.
And he kind of rolled his eyes like, yes. But it was kind of late. It was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night by the time you guys got back to the city streets. So these people were like already getting down for the evening, getting ready to go to bed, start work the next day. And when all of a sudden all these people start coming out of their cellar for no reason.
Yeah, it was wild. It was whack. It was whoa. And I remember us getting outside, and I was like, we have to go back for Horseburger. We cannot leave Horseburger tied up where he was.
Yeah, you guys, Horseburger was a ways away from where you guys originally started. You've been traversing the sewers half the night. But you did find him. Luckily, after a few failed rolls on my part, no one bothered to mess with your cart. I guess the seedier people who come out at night had better things to do than mess with a old mule and a empty mail cart.
Yeah, there's not... I think the only things in it, because I have stuff stored in the cart that's not on my person. I think the only things in the cart are the whip that she never uses, that just came with it. And I think she just has common clothes in there, like just a spare set of clothes, and that's it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's all that's in there. It's just those two things.
Because the only time your cart is full is when when your character Mira is doing her day job of delivering mail and packages.
Yeah, and by the end of the day, it's all empty.
Mm-hmm.
So, nighttime hitching, like unless someone wants an old mule and an old cart that she got for free for joining a guild. Not included in dues. Not free.
Which, by the way, that is something that your character will need to take advantage of. You actually have an income.
Yeah.
You receive, I believe, when I looked at the DM's guide, since I'm qualifying you as skilled labor because, being a postmaster, you need to be able to navigate the city, know the proper paths, and, have the skills required to do your job. So you actually get 2 gold pieces a day for your job.
Huh. That's cool. I'll just assume that first day I already had them before I even entered the tavern since it was end of the day. So I won't add anything.
If we're ever at a period where we have to do a little bit of a time skip and just do daily activities to show a passage of time, I'll just tell you how many days have passed that you were working, because you work for a guild, not a business. So guild members get paid regularly. Like, even if there are some days where you don't work, you still get paid. The only thing that prevents you from getting paid is if you don't pay your guild dues. You could do absolutely the bare minimum for a guild, and as long as you're just paying your monthly guild fees, you get paid either way.
Mara likes to see people. She likes her male job, but she'd rather be an adventurer and get to see way more people.
Yeah, well, those are just some of the benefits you get as being a guild courier. But everyone then proceeded back to the Yawning Portal, and which you guys did have a little bit of a run-in with the Open Lord. You guys got to come face-to-face with Lyril Silverhand herself, if not for but a moment.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
She was...
not as stuck up as I expected. She's quite nice, actually.
She, well, being the Open Lord, she tries to treat all of the citizens of Waterdeep properly. She works for them. They don't work for her. There's a lot of stuff that you guys can learn about not only her as a character, but also the positions of government in Waterdeep if you wish to ask.
Well, Mara knows.
Yes,
she'll know when it comes up.
She would, and if not, she would definitely have advantage. But she was just doing the last round of speeches and decided to make the Yawning Portal her last stop as Agharion's day was coming to a close at 11 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
You guys missed her speech, but you did bump into her, and she recognized Renar and Floon, and he explained what was going on very briefly. And she said, well, I'm glad such adventurers were able to sort the problem, because Waterdeep was a city founded by adventurers. It does have a lot of history with, like, orcs and wars and other clashes between different races and groups, but ultimately Waterdeep as it exists today was founded by adventurers seeking to make a hub for themselves.
And it's a very, like, it's diverse population-wise with, like, all the different species of sentience, and like, that makes so much sense for a place founded by adventurers, you know?
It's very much, not to bring politics or anything to it, but it is very capitalist. Most nobles who exist there now actually do have a history in adventuring. It's a very popular place for successful adventurers who have earned so much gold or gotten so much loot to settle down and build a legacy for themselves.
Like Mare's dad.
Like your father. Some are more successful than others, but it is definitely a place where adventurers can find respite, support, and retirement if they wish.
Yeah, Mara and her dad are like real middle class.
But so then after the run-in with the Open Lord, you return inside, and Volo's been waiting there all day. He is very pleased that his friend Floon Blagmar has returned safely with Raynar Neverember, who he was already acquaintances with, and there was hugs and jubilation to go around. And this is when the party started getting a little bit anxious, because Volo was incredibly happy, but now comes the part where he explains to them, I don't exactly have 300 gold pieces to just give you all. But let it never be said that Volotham Gadarm reneges on a promise. And she reveals to them a document that he unravels to reveal to be the deed of a very fine property, as he explains, in the North Ward. It is a manor located in Troll Skull Alley in the northern part of Waterdeep. And he says this should more than suffice for the compensation of 300 gold owed to you for completing this mission.
Yeah, Mara was happy about that. She didn't really care, and I don't think Terry really cared that much either.
But Vorn could not stand feeling gypped.
A little too much. He came on a little strong.
Yeah, Volo had... I don't think what he realized was that, Waterdeep has a government that handles all this stuff. If Volo straight up denied him payment or gave him payment that was less than what he originally offered, he could have gone to the authorities no problem and pressed charges against Volo.
But he's also a thief character who just wouldn't probably do that.
No, he wouldn't. But that then begs the question why he went through the trouble of forcing Volo to make a haphazard contract saying that if he did not show up on the morning of the following day to assess the house, that he was then going to cause physical harm.
Oh yeah, that's weird. That's a good point. I forgot that happened. I forgot he had made him sign a contract.
Yeah, and at this point I was like, why are you doing this? This is unnecessary. But he was adamant about it, and he was not going to...
Yeah, he was like, we're going to your house, Volo, and we're going to sleep in your house. I'm not leaving your side. I'm going to sleep in the room and watch you.
Volo was clearly uncomfortable, and I think Raynar kind of intervened, and he's like, I can vouch for Volo. If he doesn't show up with the contract you've just signed, then obviously legal charges can be pressed. Go to your inn room that you've rented out for the week, and we will all meet at Troll Skull Alley at first light, alright?
Yeah, I remember Mira was like, oh, loosen up, spooky boy, because that's what she calls him. She just calls him spooky boy. Spooky boy and brass knuckles, that's what she... even my half-human lizard folk can't learn people's names. It's just... but she was just happy to go on the adventure, to be completely honest.
And you guys are going to have way more adventures come next session. Now, I did mention earlier that next session is going to be very roleplay heavy. That's not to say that there will not be combat based on your choices, but it is going to be much more open-ended for you guys come our next session, which hopefully will be next week, depending on if everyone's schedules hold up.
I thought it was going to be this week because it's Monday today.
I'm just trying not to time stamp this episode.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. Then it'll be this upcoming Sunday.
Yeah, because I don't even know when I'm going to put this one up specifically. I'm just going to, because we recorded 3 today. 1 I want to put up tonight. I'll put up the session 0 tonight for Waterdeep, and then the others I might space them out at least a week.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be a while. But yeah, this... so I don't know when part 3 will be up, because you never know, something might happen and someone can't come this weekend, or... I don't even have internet in my house right now. Like, normally I just have really bad internet that won't upload most of the time, but currently I have 0 internet. I haven't had a speck of it for a month. Got to get a new provider, because the other one won't come fix it. So yeah, that's also an issue, but you usually let me upload here, which is good, which is real good. But
I'm very much looking forward to that. I think everyone's going to have a big time. This session was much more of a traditional one-off setting where
it was very fun.
Very fun. Next session, you guys will have the complete freedom to explore Waterdeep as much as you want.
Ooh.
No holds barred. Lots of NPC roleplay, and depending on how you guys act and interact with other people, maybe a little bit of combat.
Fun. Yeah, that'll be real good, because at the end of this one, Vorn retired to his arrangements, and he studied the map some and ate a little before going to sleep. Mara returned to her dad, and he was like, wow, you're really late. She was like, whoa, Dad, you gotta listen to my stories. And she just told him everything, and he was so proud. It was great.
Yeah, that's right. We had a little bit of a summary as to what everyone was doing that night before
we
going
didn't
to Troll
individual role play it out. We just said.
This is what we're doing this evening, just so we can make our world more lived in. You got to catch your dad up on your first adventure, and he was all proud that his daughter got her first taste of dungeon delving.
And Terry's was so funny to me, because he just kind of... We didn't see it happen, but he kind of just woke up, became sentient, and walked out. And everyone at that inventor place was like, "Hold up, what just happened?"
Yeah, well, so the House of Inspired Hands, as you guys may or may not see tomorrow, I imagine you guys, because of Terry, will see the House of Inspired Hand at some point. At the very least, you'll get to see his contact, Brina, at some point.
Mayor's probably even been there for deliveries if they ship out Robo Boys.
Oh, I can guarantee you that with all the stuff they need to make stuff, you have definitely visited there. It's one of the biggest tech areas in the city. But anyways, so yeah, Terry just gets up, walks out, and people think, oh, well, maybe someone's activated him and they're running diagnostics. And then he proceeds to walk out the door. And they're like, hey, did you activate him? No, I thought you did. Who activated him? Why is he walking on his own? Where is he going?
And then, at almost midnight, he just walks back into his room, sits down and deactivates. And they're like, what did he do? Where did he go?
Brina, the little gnome, has been sitting in the office where he was constructed. And she's, freaking out, where did you go? And he's, powering off.
I think we made something entirely new.
That sounds familiar. Where is that from?
Steven Universe.
Oh, that's right. and then Vorn went back to his inn in the Sea Ward, and he actually got to finish going over his notes. And the last dice roll for the evening, I said, if you want to go ahead and spend the evening looking over these notes, you may do so. And he did. And he rolled really high intelligence checks. And basically what he discerned was that all of these little X's on the map that he looked at in the previous session were markers for more Zent hideouts. He deciphered the Thieves' Cant code. He learned that hideout number 1, hideout number 2 in the North Ward, hideout number 3 in the Southern Ward. He basically found a cache of all these different little Zent hideaways. And
more like general areas, not specific buildings and rooms, right?
Yes, nothing specific. Basically, they give you the general square blocks that these areas can be found, and then once you get there, there'll be physical clues to show you where they are. If you've ever played the Thieves Guild missions in Skyrim, or if you've played anything like Thief or Dishonored, where there's hidden caches, or railroad missions for Fallout 4, they give you the general area, and then you have to look for clues in the environment to tell you where stuff is.
You might have noticed, actually, speaking of Skyrim, you might have noticed that any of my characters I play, I never loot bodies. And that's because I hate it in Skyrim. Because, I'll loot everybody in Skyrim, and it's so exhausting. It takes forever. And then I'm in D&D, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
I will say I appreciate that, because that can be very tedious. You'll notice that when
the only time I'll do that is if there's, a specific NPC baddie that we take down, and they're supposed to have something on them.
Well, you'll notice that when we were in the warehouse during the previous podcast, when Vorn was looting the almost a dozen Zent and Zentarum bodies for weapons, I just said, do a general perception check, and I'll tell you what you find total on all of them.
Yeah.
And what he found was not a lot. I think he found, each person had a dagger or two on them, and then collectively he found some gold.
There's always that player in the party who has to check everybody, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm actually quite grateful for it, because it means I don't have to do it.
And I agree. I am not saying, and I'm addressing my players now, I'm not saying don't do something because we find it annoying. On the contrary, I'm just saying if you're going to do something, do not be surprised if I find a way to summarize it or make it simplified.
I don't think other players doing it is annoying at all. I think doing it myself is just tedious, and I don't like to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that I'm very glad that Matthew's character does do it all the time, because I don't want to.
Just don't be surprised if he's doing all the searching that he doesn't share whatever he finds.
That's fine. I don't think Mare's gonna want most stuff that people have anyways, because she's more about using her hands, because she has a war pick that she picked that was given to her, but
she's not proficient with it, I don't think.
No, she is, actually, I believe, actually.
Maybe she, because you're a fighter, which means you're proficient with pretty much all martial weapons.
She's proficient with it, but it's not something she's going to whip out a lot. That's going to be a basically a mini boss's only weapon, pretty much.
Gotcha.
Or something where they just bit off more than they can chew.
Yeah, we have that homebrew rule where with war picks you get triple damage if you land a critical attack.
I don't remember the rationale behind that. I remember when it happened.
I only did it because it was something that Kami and Karen did with their campaigns.
I don't remember why they did it, though.
Probably because it's just a piercing weapon and it's super heavy, that if you do manage to land a critical hit, it's going to do a lot of damage. I mean, imagine...
They are very much about weapon accuracy.
I mean, imagine a mining pick going through your torso. That's not just a flesh wound. That is your vital organs traumatized.
Your skeleton shattered. That's everything. Yeah, that's a good point.
So
I mean, it works for me. I remember that one time I had a war pick in Avernus, and we were... You told everyone about that rule that we had. And Connor was like, "Yeah, you'll never get a crit with it though, and that it's so specific." And then immediately I got the nat 20 with the war pick.
Yeah, and I told you do max damage and then multiply it by 3, and you
then he
destroyed.
He was like, "Okay, that's fine." Yeah, because I did roll like a lot. I rolled so well. Like the fates were just like, that guy. Let's show him.
Forget that guy in particular. Show him the meaning of pain.
Yeah, it's like they were like, oh yeah, show this guy that the war pick was a good idea, and they did. Yeah, really just destroyed him.
But that was our first session of Waterdeep Dragon Heist.
It was very enjoyable. The energy was good throughout. We dipped a little at the end energy-wise, but since we took a 30-minute meal break in the center.
And after 6 hours of regular playtime before and after that.
3 before and after, 6 total.
6 total, you know what I meant.
Yeah, I know what you meant. I just want to make sure they know what you mean. You know,
a 3-hour game session followed by a 30-minute break and then a continuation of the same session for 3 hours more. We were all a little tired.
I really liked that because I felt like our sessions were way too short for Descent into Avernus.
Yes. Now
we didn't even realize we were tired until after, once the food kind of started to digest, and we were low energy because we weren't, thinking about what's our character going to do next. What are they doing right now?
And I think everybody had a good time, and they were given plenty of time to actually think about what they were going to do. That's one of the reasons why I like the back and forth turn-based things that we do just in regular investigations or roleplay, because while someone is doing something and then rewind just a little bit to see what everyone else is doing while that person is doing that, it gives them a little bit of time to think, okay, how can I either complement what this person's doing, or what am I going to do on my own to benefit me, or how am I going to help the party? A few extra seconds of roleplay thinking time.
And I really like how our party is willing to split. And I know there's the whole never split the party meme.
But we don't split it like one person's going to go to the northern part of the city, one person's going to go to the southern part of the city.
That'd just be too much to handle.
Yeah.
There'd be so much sitting around waiting for the other person. No, it's like if you're in a crowd and you have to... Did you just queef?
No.
You're looking at me like that's a big ass lie.
Make an insight check.
Oh, you know what? I will. Give me a D20. What's Mara's insight? +3. Okay. 16.
I did.
You queefed. Okay. Did you queef? Make an insight check. Little queefer.
Oh.
What were we talking about? Oh, yeah.
We were talking about splitting the party, but...
if you're in a crowd looking for someone and you're just still going to be around each other. Yeah, don't be afraid.
I don't consider that splitting the party. If you are in the same general area, like if you're in the same building, in the same plot of land, and you're within communicating distance, that's not splitting the party. That's spreading out to look for clues. That's like Scooby-Doo logic.
Scooby-Dooing it. You wouldn't be shoulder to shoulder the whole time if you were doing this in the real world, looking for this stuff.
Unless you've got just unless you've got a weird character thing where you've got a conjoined twin.
What, you think conjoined twins are weird? He's just shrugging. He's like, oh, I don't know how to answer this. Which answer does Twitter want? Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think that's fun. I actually wrote a lot into my Call of Cthulhu campaign that I hope I get to run one day. Where it's Forced splitting the party for the horror effect.
Well, I've already spoken to him. G and I are still interested in doing that with you, as long as you can find enough people to run it. So, if you can just find one other person to play with you on a regular basis, we're still up for Call of Cthulhu.
Dope. Yeah. One day I'll have to relearn the game because it's been so long. Been a very long time. But yeah, that's it for this episode. We had a ton of fun, and we are continuing to have a ton of fun with Waterdeep Dragon Heist. I cannot wait to see what happens next. Thanks to Puff and Forrest, I kind of maybe know what possibly waits for us in the house, but I'm not going to say anything. Even though before this is up, we'll probably have played that already.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you this right now. From what you've seen on other YouTube channels, we are almost beyond the point of spoilers that you would be aware of. After the beginning of next session, I believe for everybody it will be uncharted territory.
Yeah, because I normally avoid the spoileries for the pre-written, but I watched all of Puff and Forrest stuff back when we were just playing with Kami and Karen, who didn't do any pre-written stuff, and they were the DMs swapping off, and they were like, oh, we're not going to run any of the pre-writtens. And so I was like, oh, then I don't have to worry about the spoilers, because then you and a bunch of other people recommended Puff and Forrest to me, and I watched them, and I got those spoilers. So I remember that one, and I remember his Strahd thing, because I watched his Strahd thing like super through. But Strahd's so big that everyone's game could be so completely different depending on like the tarot cards, that they get and everything. Like watching someone play Curse of Strahd all the way through and then immediately playing it after, you could have a completely different campaign.
There's sessions where there's pre-written stuff and even homebrews where a lot of stuff will stay the same and then it can end differently. Strahd is one of the few pre-writtens that I know of where not only will it end differently every time you play it, but it can start differently too.
The Universal Monsters campaign also, which is the reason I'm excited.
Oh, yes. The one that you bought from a third party.
No. I'm saying Curse of Strahd has heavy influence from the Universal Monsters film.
Oh, I thought you were talking about that level 20 campaign setting on, like, Skull Island.
Oh, yeah, the one that's based on King Kong. Yeah, King Kong's made by RKO, not Universal. But Universal currently claims the rights, even though it's kind of in rights limbo.
Either way, but yes, no.
A lot of King Kong knowledge.
If you're talking about the classic Universal monsters like Dracula, Wolfman, etc., yes, that is going to be a hoot. And
I'm actually going to bring you a copy of the 1931, I think it's 31, Dracula film, because that's who Strahd is supposed to be, is Bela Lugosi's Dracula character.
Really?
Yeah. He's my favorite actor.
Is that the one? How does that compare to the one played by Christopher Lee?
Christopher Lee is the Hammer one. All film Draculas are based off of Bela Lugosi's specific performance. The accent that people do on like Halloween and stuff, that's just Bela Lugosi's real Hungarian accent.
Okay, that's I didn't know that. That's fascinating.
Like when you always see Dracula drawn with like a widow's peak and a cape, that's because Bela Lugosi had a widow's peak and the wardrobe didn't give him the cape. It was just his cape from home that he wore onto set.
Now, I will tell you this. Speaking of classic stories and literature in D&D, whereas Curse of Strahd is more grim fairy tale universal monsters, I think you guys may actually like Wild Beyond the Witchlight just as much, because that takes also kind of a fairy tale look, but rather than the grim fairy tales, it takes more of the nursery rhyme type stories.
Yeah, that's
and
your
combines
new one,
them
right?
combines them with Alice in Wonderland.
I was never big on Alice in Wonderland.
It's got all kinds of madness, malevolence, and Feywild chaos.
Whack. Just don't let any real Fey know we're playing it, or we will be cursed. But yeah, I guess that is it for today. If you want to show us some serious support, I definitely recommend following us on Patreon. The lowest tier is just $1. The highest is $10. I see all these YouTubers and podcasters and stuff where the highest tier is like, $200. $10 is my highest tier. $10. You get literally everything. I even have some downloadable content that I made for Call of Cthulhu, where I like made cryptid stat blocks and stuff that you can download. And we'll show you like pictures of our game table, because we use a lot of custom minis these days, custom painted and custom sculpted, like Hero Forge and that new game store here in your town that'll print 3D minis that you can design.
I definitely want to give them some more business, because I want to give my support to any local miniatures and comic shops and collectible stations.
Yeah, keep your game stores alive, people.
So once I'll definitely visit them again, and the minis, for the price that they're offering, you can't beat them. So I'll definitely work on getting those, and I may not have them painted by the next time we do some pictures, but I'll definitely have them primed.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like we'll be showing. I'll be putting a bunch of those pictures up, and there's also stuff you can see on Twitter. The B3 Productions Twitter at B3 Productions. We do post every time we have a session. I post a meme there that's like, "Oh, today's D&D session without context," and it's just 4 panels that are kind of hints at some stuff that happens. All the ones from the last one were from the first half, which was the last episode. So we didn't have any reveals for this one, but. Yeah, I always do one of those. They're very fun. Everyone in the group always really likes when I drop it in the group chat. It's something I really look forward to making every time. I enjoy it so much. And we also put them on Patreon as well, so you can see them there. So that's it. Thank you all once again for your support. And I suppose the next episode will almost certainly be Waterdeep Dragon Heist Part 3. And I will see you all then. Thank you very much. And, just a quick reminder, Big Boy Chungus did in fact queef.